Hello, this is Jeff Ritter here for Internet Communication and Development Global 4007 at LaRoche College. Hi. So this is a video on YouTube for students who can't make some of the face-to-face classes that we're going to have this summer for the hybrid course. So I'm going to do some online videos that'll go along with some PowerPoint presentations so that you'll be able to gain some things to get out of the classroom activity without actually being there. All right, so we're going to start with Class 1. This is the PDF in the file, in the folder under something. I forget what it's called. Class Documents. There it is. And so you open up Class 1 to page 1, and you'll see Internet Communication Development. Now let's move on. It's only about 10 pages, so I think it'll be just about 7 or 8 minutes maybe, or a little longer maybe. We'll see. Go on to page 2. Here we are. Just some basic introduction. Many of you probably know this. The global classes are part of the effort by LaRoche to be for your liberal arts education. You know, you could go to two-year school, associate's degree, technical training, all those things that are out there to choose from. You chose a liberal arts degree, so we want to make sure that you have some breadth and depth to your knowledge and experience of the world beyond just the specifics of the major you're taking, and that's one of the things that these classes are meant to improve. So global seems like a good idea for people to have more understanding of things around the world, so that's what this class tries to fulfill. You could know that for the online class, for the expectations, you certainly have to read the book, you certainly have to participate in the discussion boards and write with substance about the text. Again, if I don't see you in a classroom and can't gauge your interest and your knowledge and your attention that way, then the only way I could do that is by reading what you choose to write online. So please read the text carefully. The chapters are pretty good. It's a very enjoyable book, and write in substance, and that'll make me, for all the assignments online, write with substance and depth. You might want to, this is a good suggestion for you, is do most of your writing offline, not in Blackboard, but in documents, and then paste it in. That'll give you more time to consider what you're writing and hone it and proofread it, and then you just copy and paste it into some of the boxes. I think when the student sees a box in front of them, they fill it and want to just press the button and be done with it, but you'd probably be more thoughtful doing it other ways. So explore the syllabus online, as it says. Read everything there, read the documents and the introduction and the syllabus, and you'll get a pretty clear idea of what the course is about, and I'm about to go into it in more detail. By the way, with Blackboard, if you have questions, if you're unclear, you can always look online and Google. Type any question you want about Blackboard online into Google, and you're bound to find the answer. If you can't find it, you can email me. I'll be happy to help you. It's not too complicated. I think most students are getting it by now. Next slide. This is page 3. What are ICTs? This is the easy one to remember. Information and Communication Technologies. That's just the shortcut that we use that encompasses everything from DVDs and cell phones to computers and the internet and everything in between for that exists and still exists, the iPad, new things that don't exist yet, and iPods and all those things in that realm. So you see that they're pretty important to everyday life. So let's look at these terms: processors, memory, bandwidth, and storage. What's important about these terms to you? I'll just make sure I'm recording. Okay, good. What's important about these terms? Well, we take the entire field of ICTs and we could divide it up into these 4 terms or 4 areas, and we can pretty much encompass the whole thing. And we can look and see how they work together, how they are, and how they're independent. And of course, you have to remember with the significance of capitalism and the economy we have, there's no one in charge. There's no organization or government that says we're going to develop computers, they're going to do this, and then they're going to do that, and then they're going to be faster, and then this will happen. There's nobody in charge. It's capitalism at its form, a purest form, where companies compete for customers by developing newer and better ways of doing things. So processors keep getting faster. How come? Do we really need them faster? Well, not yet. We don't have anything we need to do with them yet, but when they get faster, we'll find something to do with them that we can't do now. We couldn't do MP3s and we couldn't do DVDs on computers from the early 90s because they just weren't fast enough, so those things didn't exist. As computers got faster, we found new capabilities for them. So that's what's constantly going on with the speed of processors, and that's why Intel constantly researches to improve the speed of their processors. Memory, just the working sort of desktop for a computer. Why do we need more and more memory? Well, the applications we use hog more and more memory, and we want to do more and more things that use a lot of memory, so memory use is going up and amount of memory is going up. Same thing with bandwidth. Bandwidth is how fast you can download or upload from the internet, how fast your connection is, and how much you can send up or bring down from the internet in a certain amount of time. And why have we demanded, and why do people want faster and faster bandwidth all the time? Well, to watch movies, to download MP3s, to use Netflix, to watch YouTube. All those things work better with higher bandwidth. And of course, as again, when high bandwidth didn't exist years ago, when people were on dial-up, there were no movies to watch because nobody could do it. So as we got more bandwidth available from commercial entities, new things to do came about. And they're continuing that dance now between which comes first sort of problem. As we find more and more things to do with the bandwidth will get faster. Same thing for storage. Why do computers now have gigabytes instead of megabytes and even terabyte, 1,000 gigabytes of storage? Because people have bigger files than they ever had before. So that keeps expanding too. So look at that next sentence. ICTs provide the ability to organize, disseminate, analyze, store, copy, and communicate information. All those capabilities mean what to you in your everyday life? Speed, efficiency, abilities to do things faster than ever before, to be more productive in everyday life or in work or for your home or even for fun. And when you think about it, if you look at it carefully, you say, this has had the biggest impact on everyday life, bigger than anything since the car, really, or transportation, airplane or jet plane transportation came about. And these are things that you can tell that if you could have them in your everyday life, you'd really want them because it would make your everyday life better and give you more time to do other things, be that spend time with your kids, play, cook, get an education, walk and get water, whatever you have to do for your everyday life, ICTs would improve. And people around the world know that. That's why they want them. All right, let's get into development a little bit and what it means. It's just a simple phrase, simple term meaning meeting the needs of the people. These are the basic areas where that you have to have met in order to have a high standard of living, or any standard of living beyond dirt poor, dollar a day, subsistence farming. Health, education, business, agriculture, and government, those are the things we expect from a modern, complex society to work efficiently, to be effective. And you can imagine now, if we put ICTs, if we took away the ICTs related to all 5 of those processes, we'd be back in 1700 or 1800 or 1900 or 1950. But ICTs have increased the capabilities of all those areas so immensely that now it's up to the world to help distribute ICTs to these functions everywhere so that everyone has this advantage. And we'll look at each one of these subjects in detail later in the class. Just some terms we use. We don't really use underdeveloped anymore. Undeveloped, there's no such thing. But we say developing countries. So you'll see developing countries around the world, sometimes also called emerging economies. And that's the term we'll use mostly for places that are still trying to raise their standards of living. Of course, every place is, but raise it to the modern standards of the United States and Western Europe and East Asia. China's moving up there. India's moving up quickly. Western Europe has been there for a long time. Eastern Europe is too. Big parts of Africa are developed, are as sophisticated and high-tech and as sustainable, well, maybe not sustainable as we are, but big parts of Africa and big parts of South America are not as well. So that's what we're looking at. Least developed countries, just another phrase. One of the saddest phrases we have in the world is the group of countries that's at the lowest of the rung in terms of development, and one of those is in this hemisphere, the Western Hemisphere, and that's Haiti. So close to the most developed countries, but still on the least developed list. All right. Next slide. The factors of development are what we're going to try to study in this class. I say try boldly. And the economy, you'll have to understand how economies work to understand that we can't just go in and say, fix this economy, get it working, where are the jobs, get the people to manufacture. It's a very complicated and complex topic. So we'll watch Commanding Heights to learn more about how economies work and function. We'll watch the video series called The Cold War to understand something about society, culture, and the history. How we got to this position right now in the 21st century. What led to this situation with inequity in the world, with huge areas of the world less developed than other areas. Was it the people? Is it the geography? Is it the weather? It turns out that it's none of those things, most likely. Most likely it's more a matter of history and the history of power and the way power has been used around the world. The Cold War is an example of that we'll study in this class. Lastly, we'll really study carefully from the text The World is Flat, the concept of globalization. That's in the other videos too, Commanding Heights. Next slide. Next page, we'll work at the first section of the Cold War videos for next week. You can watch videos 1, 2, 17, 18, and 23. I'd recommend watching all of them. If you can only watch a few, 17, 22, number 1 certainly would be great to watch to get some ideas about the historical context, how the world ended up this way, what's important about it for politics and development. In class, we're going to do a personal technology inventory exercise, but if you're not going to be in the first class, then you have to do this online. There's an essay assignment called ICTs and Life in the assignments category, and you should do that. It's not for a grade, it's just to do it, and there's no preparation necessary. Just read the questions carefully and try to answer thoughtfully, and I'll give you some feedback on each one. It's an exercise to try to understand. Next slide page is trying to understand, here it is, how ICTs impact your life and affect your perspective. Get you to think a little bit about, could you live without them? How would you survive? And then make you realize, or give you the chance to realize, really, that ICTs and the way we use them in everyday life affect our very perspective, and not only that, our identity and our expectations and our thoughts about who we are and what our potential is. We envelop them into our lives, or embrace them into our lives, and that's the role they play. And just think about, the main point of the exercise is to think about, what if you didn't have that? Who would you be if you didn't have that? And what would you do if you didn't have that? You do what people around the world would do, what you would do. They're no different. They would strive to get them, work as hard as possible to get what they could, because they know a cell phone, a computer, access to the internet would change their life dramatically, improve their health, improve education, improve their agriculture or their sales of their agriculture, or almost every function they'd have. So they're no different than anybody else, and ICTs would make a big difference, and people are striving around the world right now to try to get them. All right, last page, Introduction to The World is Flat. Read chapter 1 for next week as well. If you're not going to be in the class, nobody's going to be in the class next week, but I'll ask you to make some comments on it on the discussion board. Again, read it carefully. Be ready to talk about the central thesis of the book. The method of the author is he takes stories and anecdotes and data and does reporting around the world, meeting people, and gives you some, tries to pull it together to explain or to give examples of a particular idea, and I think he does a pretty good job. So you take a look at that book, read the first chapter for next week. We'll have some questions and discussions online. There it says online discussion, everyday life, how influential, do you want to see the same changes globally? And we'll talk about all those topics and more in the upcoming weeks for the class. All right, thanks for viewing. I hope you had everything worked okay, and I will see you soon, if not before. Bye-bye.